introducing Brad. Brad is joining us. He's the spokesperson for He Gets Us movement, and he serves as the Chief Solution Officer at Gloo. And Katie, you all know Katie, but just in case you don't, she is the founder of Church Communication. She's an author and a professor, and obviously she loves the Foo Fighters. So Katie, we would love for you to just take it away. We're talking today about He Gets Us, the big campaign, and Jesus being in the big game. So Katie, take it away.
Yeah, you're making me sound way cooler than I actually am, Jamie. So I really appreciate that by saying like the Foo Fighters was, and it was my favorite in like high school. And I guess that does make me sort of cool, but I appreciate the clout that you're giving me. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's okay to have had MySpace. There's a lot of people saying no MySpace, no MySpace. Like it's okay. Like you can admit it.
You can admit it, so
they were probably babies. That's why they didn't have it.
I know, it's true.
You were busy in the early aughts, the early 2000s, they were busy. They didn't have MySpace. They were busy doing stuff instead of curating their top 8 carefully.
Okay, all these people who are saying no MySpace, I am wondering the age. Like, were they like 5 or 10? Maybe?
Question. Were they 5 or were they 30? And they were like, nah, that's not for me today.
Yeah, I bet they were. I bet they were younger, and they were too young to have it.
I'm currently trying to decide whether to give my teenagers Snapchat. So if I was 5 in MySpace, I don't know what my parents were doing. Yeah.
No Snapchat.
Yeah, my kids don't have Snapchat.
No.
I'm the parent. All right.
That's a whole other webinar.
That's a whole other webinar we'll do another day, guys. Internet safety for children. We'll talk about it at another time. But let's jump into the interview if you don't mind. I would love to just kind of talk to y'all about Jesus in the big game. I think what's really cool is that, well, first off, Jesus is going to be in the Super Bowl. And I think that's really awesome. What a cool opportunity for us. And so, Brad, I wanted to ask you a couple questions, like why do a Jesus ad campaign and why do it now?
Well, so I love, first of all, just Katie, it's awesome to create space and appreciate you doing this with your community. And these are like, this community is kind of our people. Like if you're in communications, if you're at any sense touching media marketing around the church, this is going to be fun. Like I hope we can maybe dive into a couple topics we don't normally get to talk about. But when we talk about marketing, I bet, by the way, feel free, I'd love to see in the comments where's the coolest place or the most interesting place you've seen a He Gets Us ad. They've been out quite a bit, and a lot of folks are seeing them on sporting events or TV or what have you. So for those who maybe have been tracking, it's been about 10 months now that we've been nationally putting these messages out about Jesus, and more and more folks are seeing them. But the goals of the campaign, there's 2, and really the first one is, can we raise the respect and relevance of Jesus in our culture, in our communities? And we're using just this gigantic media tool that we have. And when you're talking about getting a message out to people in this country, there is no single better place. I mean, the Super Bowl is like one of the last places I can think of where everybody's watching the same thing at the same time. And somebody made this great point last night. Normally we fast forward the ads, like we try to avoid the ads. But in the Super Bowl, I think the stat I heard last night was between 65 and 80% of people who watch the Super Bowl would say that the primary reason is because they want to watch the ads. And so it's a fantastic place for us to get a message in there.
I agree with
that. And I think we're counting on 115 million or more viewers.
I know. Yeah, I love the ads during the season. I don't watch football, don't understand it one bit. So I am one of those people that will only tune into the Super Bowl to watch the ads. And I used to talk about, I used to require my students to watch the Super Bowl just so we could talk about the ads in our marketing class. So I think that, I think I completely agree with you. What a great opportunity to get something in front of people. Yeah, to get the gospel in front of people. So okay. So how does He Gets Us work with churches right now?
Yeah, so we've had for the last year a growing number of ads and messages out there. And for those who maybe have been watching or looking at these, each one of them really explores kind of a facet of who Jesus is. What did he say? What did he teach? How did he respond? And obviously the whole reason for the name is that there's parts of our experience, there's things that we're all going through. You know, I may be feeling loneliness, someone else may be going through a relationship, you know, journey. There may be other people that feel like they're just in a part of society that gets overlooked or marginalized. And it turns out Jesus relates to all of that. And but that's news to a lot of people. You know, a lot of folks, when we did research, we did almost a year worth of research before this all started. And a lot of folks would say things like, I had no idea that Jesus cared about relationships. I had no idea that Jesus said things about who we should love, who we should accept. And then they would follow up and say, that's pretty cool. Like, I've never seen that side of Jesus before. And then what's great, like as a marketer, if you ever get your target audience to tell you how to reach them, it's like, that's gold. And they would literally say to us things like, if you can connect those felt needs, we would call them felt needs. If you can connect those parts of my life to Jesus, I've never seen that before. That's really interesting to me. You have my attention.
Yeah.
And
Okay. So what makes this different though than the other big Christian campaigns we've seen in the past, right? Like I've seen, I don't know if y'all remember the Evangicube or, you know, things
yes.
like, so what makes this different, like uniquely different?
Well, yeah. And it gets to like your question, which is how do churches get involved? This whole thing only works if we can marry up the largest faith-related campaign in history, which is what He Gets Us is, along with what I just simply call the ground game. That's all of us who are serving in our churches, because the job of the ads really is just to introduce this radical, confounding love of Jesus. We're trying to focus really on who Jesus was as a person, as a man. Now, we all believe that Jesus was fully man and fully God, but we really want to bring our churches forward in this and soften ground and create opportunities where folks are starting to come at us who are not just normally wandering into our churches. And by the way, these are the same people. They may not be clicking on our Facebook, Instagram ads all the time if they're from a church, but they're willing to take a step toward Jesus. So that's one of the things that makes it different. And also a little bit, you know, takes people a minute to process, Katie, because, you know, they're like, where's the gospel? How come you all aren't talking about sin or heaven or hell? And those are obviously eternal, important subjects, but the campaign is really just trying to do the pre-work of get people, you know, interested in Jesus, taking a step so that we can hand them over to a whole litany of ministries and churches to then share the full story.
Yeah, to the local church, right? I think the local
right.
church has the right answers. I think that, you know, a lot of times we talk about online ministry and it'll start there, but it won't end there, right? So I think connecting them to an online, like actual, well, not an online church, but an actual church, a local church is the best next step. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think it might be good, Katie. You know, a lot of us are probably seeing them. I'm watching in the comments. You know, Aiden was saying I saw a billboard, Aiden, and then somebody else saw TV. But might be good. We can show a couple of the ads just to get everybody's mind in gear, like what these things are.
Okay, great.
I brought two of these with me. Jeremy's helping us in the back, so he'll put these up. The first one is called The Physician. And it's one that we actually haven't had on TV as much. So maybe one you've seen, maybe not. And then the second one we're going to show today is called Family Matters. The first one is going to be a little bit more biographical, like something about Jesus. And then the second one, Family Matters, is actually more about what is the way Jesus behaved, how he interacted, how could that teach us something? So let's go ahead and show those, Jeremy, if we've got them.
A young mother had a son, a kind-hearted boy who always tried to do what's right. As he grew older, he worried about others more than himself. Whenever he saw anyone suffering, he tried to heal and comfort them, but more people became sick. Disease ravished the land. People were quarantined, isolated. Many didn't survive. It became too much, and he had to isolate himself. He cried as he thought about all the unbearable things that people were going through. The mental anguish racked him with sorrow, but it was his cross to bear.
Brad, are you on mute?
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can.
I hit my button. Yeah, that one's the physician, and we've had a lot of really good, like, emotional, heartfelt response on that, as you might imagine. And it's created a lot of conversation, which is a theme we'll get back to. This next one was kind of fun. We first of all, it's the first time the campaign did anything in color. Imagine that. But also, we released this right around Thanksgiving. And I don't know if this describes any of you, but some of us may have some family members that we don't always agree with everything, or we don't get along. Maybe the holidays, we have to kind of get through it. And so this one really explores a theme that's probably on the minds of a lot of folks around the holidays. It's called Family Matters. You can go ahead, Jeremy.
There was a family. They played together and laughed together. But they weren't completely alike. And as they grew older, their opinions widened, and they distanced from each other. Conversations became heated. Reunions became more and more uncomfortable.
They thought they were made for each other, only thinking of one another.
Brother aligned against sister.
Never thinking just for 1 second.
Birthdays were ignored, gatherings stopped. Because each had to be right.
We don't want them. We don't want them. Oh no. We don't want them. We don't want them. We don't want them.
That line always gets me. Each one had to be right. Can definitely relate.
Yeah, I really love that one. That was touching. Yeah, that was really great.
So in our churches too, I mean, this is just going to be a recurring theme we'll revisit, but you can imagine some of the response and some of the conversations that these bring up. These are not like Christian content. This is not like images and messages we're used to seeing, but it's real. These are pretty raw. And so what we're really excited by is when we see churches and various, even just Jesus followers, taking these and then thinking through, like, how could we create really good conversation around this? Because these are the things that we all go through as believers, but our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers are dealing with this, and it doesn't occur to them usually that Jesus has something to say here.
Okay, let's talk about the process of getting these ads to the Super Bowl. I feel like it has to be really expensive to put an ad in the Super Bowl. Like, I have no idea, but I imagine a regular church can't just do that. So what's it like to get an ad ready for the game? Are there any great stories that you can share? I'm excited about this because we're kind of turning to the creative process, and I think that's going to be really fun.
Yeah, no, there's some gold in these stories. Yeah, and I'm hopeful that as the campaign continues, by the way, he gets us as a plan right now to be around at least 2-3 years or more. So we're going to be kind of running a marathon, so to speak. But yeah, each one of these is shot originally, right? A lot of us creative types might think, oh, that's stock image. These are actually original photos. Even those home movies that we just looked at are newly created things. Those happen to be shot in Chicago area. So the Super Bowl ads, we got to leave some surprise. So we're not going to show those today or fully be able to unveil. You'll have to watch the game on the 12th. But we went through countless kind of iterations and theme discovery, like, is this good enough for the Super Bowl? Because you're right, Katie, it's like a huge investment. You want this to be like your best work, especially, because we're dealing with Jesus here. So we're I think going to be putting some creative out that we feel really good about and we feel is a really important conversation. But we've had so many incredible stories about creating these ads, and then surprisingly, the bigger story to me about the Super Bowl isn't the cost, although it is not cheap. For those who know marketing, by the way, it's actually, if you have the budget, the cost per 1,000 viewer, the CPM figure, is actually pretty good. Like,
yeah, I would imagine so.
115
you got a
million
really
people.
captive audience, which is
That's right,
hardly
exactly.
ever a thing.
They're watching. That's right. So yes, so that in that sense, the cost is a factor, but getting approval is actually the bigger story, because some may know, well, a lot of us know that in our churches, we've struggled for years. We can't say the word Super Bowl. If we're having a party, we have to get creative and do, clever Christian things like big game or football and Jesus or whatever. The NFL actually has had a longstanding rule banning religious advertising. And so even if you had the money, just getting approval is not a sure thing. In fact, it's kind of a non-starter. However, we just had some incredible favor from both the marketing at Fox and ultimately the NFL team owners, who all looked at what's happening with He Gets Us and said, you know what, like, this is different. We like that this isn't preachy, that you're not raising money, that you're not advertising one church or denomination. We think we should maybe relook at our rule and do this case by case. So that was an incredible God moment that actually happened last fall that made all this possible. So we're excited. We're getting a lot of now, new looks from large broadcast advertising outlets, so we can put Jesus maybe in places we haven't been able to do that before.
That's awesome. Are there any great stories you can share about that? Like I think there might be a video, Jeremy.
Yeah, the video, the video I have is one that we've been showing in a lot of places, a lot of events and whatnot, and wanted to make sure all of you see it today as well. This is, as we get ready, and we're sitting here today, we're T-minus 11 days to the Super Bowl. We're trying to invite any Jesus fan, any Jesus follower who wants to be part of this to join in. And so there's a simple text, but this is the hype video that we've been showing. So this is just a minute long. Take a look at this.
Awesome.
When something big is happening, a movement, a moment, a mission that could change the world, you want to be ready. You want to learn everything you can. And right now, something big is happening. He Gets Us is a multi-year national campaign to raise the respect and relevance of Jesus in our culture. It's starting conversations, it's grabbing attention and changing minds. It's all over Twitter, in Times Square, on billboards and in stadiums. And on February 12th, you'll see it on the biggest stage in America. You'll see Jesus in the Super Bowl. The conversation is starting. Are you ready for it?
All right, so I think most people watching here in your community, Katie, there's probably two hats they wear, if not more.
Yeah.
One is just simply as a Jesus follower, number one, individuals.
Of course, yeah.
That video is for you, right? So grab your phone, send a text. We'd love to get you on the inside track. We're going to share a little bit of sneak peek stuff. And we're going to share a little bit of kind of insider material as we get closer to the game. I'll also let you guys know specifically in the game, if you're really curious, He Gets Us will have two ads. One of those is going to happen in between the first quarter and second quarter. And then the second ad will be at the top of the fourth quarter. So if you're not watching any other time, make sure you're watching then. And then Michael had a question. Susan had a similar one. Are these resources available? Is this video available? So this is pretty cool. So we've got a couple things for those of you wearing the hat of church leader, church staff. I just put a link in the chat. That's a place you can go as any kind of church, volunteer staff leader, et cetera. And we do have some resources. We're past the point where we can ship physical items out, but almost everything is available digitally. And there's some really good stuff in there. We've had, Jeremy, I don't know if you've got it, but if you want to pull up slide 5, just a couple super quick examples of what churches have been doing around this. This just blows us away. So this was a church in Arizona last Sunday. This is actually a typo. They had 3,000 Super Bowl kits that they either.
I thought 300 was impressive.
Yeah, no, it's I'd be happy with either. You're right. But they, like a lot of churches, they're not doing a Super Bowl party. They're not doing like the moon bounce, like big crockpot, whatever. But they are trying to equip people in neighborhoods, in their homes, at their tailgates with this. Also, just flipping through, Jeremy, maybe the next slide or two. This is the level of excitement that Jesus followers are showing us right now. And this would probably mirror what you guys would see in your churches when folks get invited to join the text. You're looking at stories here where the ads are starting to help people get through to others that they haven't been able to get to before. We've got, I think one of these is like a parent who's been trying to talk to her 19-year-old daughter for years about Jesus, wasn't having it. Then she saw one of these ads. Yeah, there it is. And she's like, that's cool. Let's open up conversation. We just think a lot about what I call the water cooler moment, which is your people in your churches, they're going to be approached by people who have seen the ads. They don't have to go knock on doors. People are coming at them. And so as churches, like, I think our great opportunity here is like, how can we get our folks ready? And the theme of the ads on the 12th, that's good, Jeremy, we can come off that. But the ads on the 12th are really all about like, hey, we disagree as a culture. We have a lot of things we argue about, but Jesus kind of modeled this better way, this third way, we call it, to handle disagreement. It's a really important conversation. And so we want everybody to be handling that well and ready to have good conversations on the 12th.
I think that's really awesome. So turning back to creative, I just wonder, how do you choose the topics and how do you make the ads exactly? I know we've got a lot of creative people in my community, and I know they'd be really interested in how this process even gets started.
Well, we look at we look at Jesus, right? And we read the Gospels just like you do, but we look at it through this lens of what is this story, or what is this interaction? Number one, show us about Jesus, and number two, is there a modern lens that we could view this story through that's still very faithful to Scripture, but maybe creates a refreshing look that people haven't had before? So I think so far the campaign has created somewhere near 20 different ads. And, it's everything from Jesus welcomed everyone to the dinner party to Jesus felt heartbreak. And sometimes Jesus had fun, by the way. Jesus let his hair down too. What we've also started doing though is we're looking at the calendar, and this will maybe combine a little bit with a sneak peek of where we're going creatively. Jeremy, I've got it on slide 14 if you want to bring this up. But Katie, as we think about the creative process, we're thinking about you guys too. We're thinking about the church. Where are we in the year? And also just where is our world? Like, what are we doing different parts of the year? Jeremy, you can go ahead and just build out all 5 of these. We're not going to camp on this too long, but I know that if I'm one of you right now working in a church, I'm probably thinking Easter, if not beyond, by this point. And so we've had a lot of churches saying, what are you guys going to be talking about in June? What are you going to be talking about later in the year? And so we've begun to really plan out thematically what we're doing in the year. So, right now we're just about on the Super Bowl, and I just described kind of this third way theme. We're never going to say those words publicly, but when we talk to churches, what we explain is we're going to be having a conversation about how do we disagree well with people, and how do we love the people, maybe even when we don't see eye to eye on things. So we're going to stay on this topic. Then all of us are heading straight into Easter. We've got Lent season. And so there's a lot of things we could do with Jesus around Easter, of course, but we're choosing to talk about, like, what are the things that Jesus had to give up? those of us that observe Lent, we're giving up social media, giving up soft drinks. Jesus could have had a lot of things. He could have had power, wealth. He could have had fame. He chose to give those things up. And so that's a little bit of what sacrifices covers. And then we're also going to explore later in the year this idea that Jesus had this radical movement. It was like this most impactful movement of confounding love that's ever existed. How did he do that? Like, how did he build that movement? What did he need? So we're going to talk about things like he needed women. He needed diverse friends. He needed enemies. He needed rest. And so you can already get your wheels turning creatively on like, what are each of those ads going to talk about, and how might I deal with that in my church? And then as we explore that topic, Katie, then we're looking at like, what's a story we could tell, or what's a really impactful way we could show that. And then we have a number of agencies involved in this project, over 300 people total. And they're thinking about the images, the story, the talent. How do we have a diverse set of faces here? What's the music going to be that really supports this message? And so it all kind of goes through a very methodical process that results in a 30-second or 60-second ad.
Okay, that's really awesome. I love that there's themes that continue throughout the year. And so is all of this available through Gloo and through the website, like all these resources available?
Yes. So, thanks you just posted an even better link, Katie. It gets actually everything and more in the earlier one, but all of this is available, donor funded, no cost to churches. That's another just amazing part of this whole project, is that we've created it. Like I said earlier, it can only work with you guys. To date, there's a little over 18,000 churches that have already jumped in, maybe to download videos, maybe to get some of these resources, maybe just to track along. Incidentally, this is kind of a big sleeper deal. When you jump into Gloo, that link you just shared, it includes free texting, which seems a little bit awesome, out of left field. But the reason is because I've been saying this a bunch of times, He Gets Us is all about conversations. And so what we really wanted to do is make sure that every church that wants to have conversations has, in our view, one of the best tools available to do that. So not only can you jump in and get resources, and it's going to keep growing and evolving with new content, new tools, new prayer prompts, et cetera, but you can use this texting tool openly. You can use it across your church, even for things beyond He Gets Us.
Awesome. Okay, so before you go, can you briefly explain what is Gloo and how it's related to He Gets Us?
Sure. Well, I know we have some of our churches on, so we love all of our Gloo family and Gloo platform, growing hundreds a day here. But essentially, Gloo has a couple important jobs with He Gets Us. We didn't start He Gets Us, by the way. We're just really involved in it. But at our core, what Gloo does is we connect. And so in this case, we're connecting you all, number one, today, to all the resources you can freely go get and should use. I would totally be using this if I was in any of your shoes, because I think it's a really incredible gift and resource to all of us. Gloo connects you to that. We're also connecting people. So you might imagine lots of folks are seeing these ads, they're responding, they're going to a public website, they can watch, read, view stuff. They're reading Bible plans on YouVersion, but at some point, a lot of them would say, I want to chat with someone, I want prayer, or maybe I want to connect locally. That's another thing that Gloo does, is we're helping to get connections made. And as you all follow that link and sign up for the free side, you can additionally decide, hey, we're ready to get in the game and connect with people. And that's an additional layer that you can actually add on to your Gloo subscription. Again, it can be donor funded. But one Gloo account connects you not just to He Gets Us, but we have current day about 8 other campaign partners that are funneling people to churches. So think of us a little bit like a switchboard. We're out with groups like K-Love Radio and Groundwire and Churches Care and a number of other brands, finding folks that want to connect to churches, and then we route them in. So that's another important way you can use the Gloo platform.
So thank you so much for sharing, Brad. I think we have a couple questions. Like Jennifer had asked, what's required for a church to participate? What does that look like?
So really the simple answer is it's entirely up to you. We don't put any guidelines or rules around participation. There is, I should mention, there is a statement of belief that in order to interact with explorers from the campaign He Gets Us is chosen to align with the Lausanne Covenant. A lot of you are familiar with that. That would really be the only sort of like, hey, if I want to interact with people, that's like a box I need to check. But other than that, we've had pastors and churches using He Gets Us to do something as simple as lead prayer for our people. I think it'd be a wonderful thing, by the way. We have 11 days until the biggest media moment in history that our country is going to see Jesus. Feels like a really good thing to pray for. Additionally, you might also want to just equip your people, get them ready. That's some of those resources we talked about. I have tons of churches right now that are also in the middle of preaching series around these subjects. We've also just this week had churches doing serving projects in the community, like a 3,000 person trafficking walk. They were going to do it anyway, but they realized that these Jesus ads are out there and like the community's starting to recognize it. So they're doing a trafficking walk and they're doing it wearing shirts that have He Gets Us, because for them, that helps bolster what they're doing in Jesus' name. So those are just among several ideas, Katie, of ways churches can use it and get involved. But we love creativity and we're watching to see what people are doing.
Yeah, I really think what's great about this is that it's a conversation starter, right? Like they are meant to be the beginning of a conversation, not the end. And so it's to get people curious about who Jesus is, right? And then from there, we're hoping that they get connected to a local church body, right?
Yeah, that's right. This is a partnership, right? The campaign is not hoping, expecting, or planning to do the full cycle work. And I see Nancy.
Yeah, and you can't do that in 15 seconds on a
30 seconds. That's
I mean,
right.
I wish you could. Like that would be incredible, but you just really can't. You can like give them enough to taste and see that the Lord is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And I see, like, Nancy, thank you for your question too. This is by the way, we can take all questions. Nothing's off the table, but it's a common thing. Like, why don't we mention the gospel, or why don't we see subjects of heaven, hell, sin, etc.? If you spend any time on the He Gets Us website, by the way, you will notice that there's scriptural reference, multiple references normally for each and every ad. We have articles where we dive a little deeper into what does God's word say about this particular subject. We also have plain statements on the website that this is a project run by Christians. We believe fully that God was man and that Jesus was fully man and fully God. And we've made a conscious decision, as I said earlier, to really begin with that most relatable side, which is his humanity. And we want to lead folks over what we call over the bridge to get to a point where all of our ministries can talk about not just Jesus, but Jesus Christ and why he came, what that really means for you, and how you should respond. But we see it as a process. And so it's a partnership, like I said, with you and every church and ministry.
Right. Yeah. It starts with you, but it doesn't end with you. And I think that maybe leads us to our next question a little bit about like, how do people get connected when they go to the He Gets Us website to like a local church? Is there a process there?
Our number one criteria we look at is location. We really want, whenever possible, to get folks into that face-to-face, at least local interaction, right? So we really work hard, and Gloo has a fairly sophisticated connection engine behind the scenes that looks at each person coming in and really tries to then match them with a church. Sometimes, depending on the subject matter, we look at churches that have said they want to serve in certain areas. For example, mental health. Not every church may feel equipped or ready to handle someone coming in that's really having a true struggle with anxiety or with maybe something even more acute than that. praise God, we do have a lot of ministries and churches who have said, we'll take them, we're ready. And so we use a lot of criteria to match each person. We're doing this about 400 times a day on average, where we have real people with real names. These are like high quality connections that we hand off to churches. And then we track carefully to make sure that each church is responding timely, responding well to those people. But once we hand the person to the church, essentially at that point, it's a handoff, and we want that church to be able to do ministry the way they see fit.
Yeah, that was a good question. We had another question about when will Gloo and He Gets Us launch outside of the United States. Is there a timeline there?
Yes, I saw that. I think there was a Canada question, maybe.
Yeah, Canada specifically.
That's right. We love our friends to the north, especially because I saw so many Karen Newhoff fans earlier. That makes perfect sense. So the short answer is we've had a lot of interest and a lot of even demand in other parts of the world to bring He Gets Us there. We think over time that's going to happen. We don't have a timeline set up just yet. Our good friends just north of the border in Canada, some of you, if you're close enough to markets like Detroit or Buffalo, you might be getting these ads anyway. We've got a lot of YouTube traffic as well coming from all over. So it'll be a matter of time. We're also conscious of like contextualization and localization issues that'll come. The good news even now is every ad we make is going to be available in both English and Spanish. So that's also been a really big help to our brothers and sisters that are leading Spanish speaking congregations to use those resources.
All right, so wrapping up, how do you get involved? Okay, so you can text Super Bowl to 70193, and that will put you on just I think the regular list. However, if you want the church information, you want to like actually join, become a Gloo partner. Here's the thing, it's free to become a Gloo partner. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so no cost to you to become a Gloo partner. There was a question about what if you're not a Gloo partner? You can become one. It's easy. It's just a form, and it's free, so that's good. And then you can go to tinyurl.com/sbglue. Again, the link is also in the chat. So yeah, Michael has a question of how does our church apply to be a connect with someone local? And so I think that's what we answered. Honestly, I think you just go to tinyurl.com/sbglue. Is that correct, Brad?
Yeah, that link will get you on the Gloo platform. And to be clear, Gloo is a website that has all these resources. It also gives you these tools. We talked earlier about free texting, the He Gets Us hub. All of that is that link, Katie, you're right. And then once you're in, you're going to see another button, another opportunity that says connect with new people. That you want to click on that and it'll take you through a super quick process. We do want to make sure that every church understands plainly what they're getting into, because we care deeply about these explorers, these people. So rather than just
so
make
you're
it a
going to get a
free-for-all,
lot of people, like a lot of interest, right? And so
we
if
are
you're getting a bunch of emails about specific people, you want them to follow up with those people, right?
That's right. Yeah, turns out these are like real people, real humans. So yeah, we want them to be served well, but we need more capacity all over the country. As I said, like we really try to stay local. So you can imagine over here at Gloo, we've got a big US map and we're filling in that map little by little. We love our digital churches as well. Multi-campus, there's opportunities to receive and serve people. But the first easiest step is, get in that resource area, that hub, and maybe there's some things you want to download. It could be as simple as just showing some videos. You are welcome to do that. We've made those available to you guys in 4K. You can download them and use them tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, and upload them to your Facebook page, use them as you will.